So I have a question for you to
Okay.
start this off. I just learned that you've been doing Aikido for 35 years.
Yes.
And it's easy to ask the question, how did you get into Aikido? But I'd like to know, why are you still doing it?
It's after a period of time, it becomes a meditation. You start, it's an interest that maybe turns into a hobby, but if you do it long enough and you put in the time, it becomes your meditation. You know, it's how you decompress, and that's probably what keeps me doing it and keeps me coming and keeps me training. That and anger management, honestly. There's another side of it. My teacher and I had a conversation once about it, and he said, yeah, we have to do Aikido our whole lives, because if we don't, that comes back. So it keeps us in check.
You know, it's funny, I've been doing it 23 years, and I would say exactly the same thing that you've said, that over time, this thing that I loved because it gave me confidence and it made me feel physically safer, became this thing that really became like a spiritual path, which I had no expectation of when I started. And it's certainly not because there's anything really that you say that suggests that in ordinary classes, but it just becomes a feeling that grows in training.
Yeah, I think it comes from the idea we train, and the idea of training in a non-violent, trying to resolve conflict way opens a doorway. And it's like, oh, if we're practicing this art form that sometimes is referred to as the art of peace, it brings that into you after a while. It's like, oh, I can really see this developing, and I can see that there's a workable solution that doesn't have to end in violence.
Yeah. And how amazingly it's not just about the physical violence,
right?
But just learning to moderate my emotions, or look to the side and see them as something that's happening, but not something that I make my judgments or my decisions from, my actions from, and that there's a third way besides your experience and my experience. There's our mutual experience, and that's worthy of attention.
Yeah.
I've found that to be something really important. You have quoted a sensei a few times about Aikido is the loving protection of all living beings. Oh, Budo. Budo is
the word Budo, yeah.
Yeah, being a warrior is the loving protection of all living beings. That has been something I've thought about just constantly over 23 years of what does that mean in my life.
And I think that word Budo is an interesting word, because you'll see, fighters get that tattooed on their arm, and the Japanese characters, Budo, and it's like, oh, it's the warrior's way, and it's like, well, it is, but it's also, why is there a warrior? What is that about? And it's about protecting everything that is alive, and with kindness and with grace. I have a question for you about, as you've practiced Aikido, do you find that friends and family come to you because you're a centered person, that you can solve problems, that you can, deal with day-to-day conflict that has nothing to do with violence or physical altercation?
All the time. And I was a psychologist for years before I came to Aikido, and I felt that my practice of Aikido really deepened my work as a therapist, and in ways I wasn't expecting at all. One, it became a filter for me. It was a way to kind of cope with my days.
Yeah.
That was amazingly helpful. But also, I grew internally as a person. I think I became a lot more patient with others, and even more so with myself. I think I see students start, and they're very self-critical.
Yeah.
And I think one of the joys is watching how people, over time, give themselves more grace.
Yeah.
And that's That's one of the things that keeps me enjoying being a teacher.
I think that's what I enjoy too. I really love watching beginners, and it doesn't matter if they're 4 or 84 when they start. I love watching children, just to give a child permission. Oh, you can use your voice. You can yell. What? I can yell? Yeah, go ahead and yell in the middle of class. That's fine. Go ahead and yell stop. Go ahead and show that you have this sort of power that's inside of you that you oftentimes keep hidden because, well, you're a good kid. But there's time and place for everything, and here's a time and place for you to practice these ideas. And I think it builds confidence. And I think even with people who are older, who aren't kids, it's like all of a sudden, oh, I have a voice. When I started Aikido, I was, I guess in my 20s, early 20s, 21, yeah. And it was, I was shy. I didn't have a voice. I didn't want to yell. We had to do ki-eyes. I remember hating it. They did this thing called mat bashing, basically have a tantrum on the mat. Pound the mat and yell and scream. And I was like, I can't do that. And now I can, talk in public and do all these other things that I would never have thought myself doing, because I was really quite shy.
No, and I think as a woman, women particularly have trouble asserting themselves. And I'm a pretty assertive person before I came to Aikido, but having just a level of physical confidence in myself, I hold myself differently thanks to Aikido and the practice of it. And I just feel safer on the street, and much more quick to assert my space in the world. Not in an aggressive way, but in owning my space, which I didn't do.
That's the nice thing about Aikido too, is that you can hold your space and hold your ground and move through the world and not be aggressive. You're not like, oh, I'm ready for a fight. It's just like, no, I'm here and I'm present and I'm aware. And that is a skill that we all should learn, just being aware of our space and our surroundings. I mean, a lot of times I see people in the world and they seem pretty asleep. And they're walking around in my opinion, sometimes dangerous places that they're not really aware that, you're being followed by somebody, or there's a pickpocket over there. You've been to Spain, places like that, and you watch tourists and you watch the predators and you're like, oh, well, it's easy to see because we're aware that so many people are asleep.
No, I was doing that this morning. I just can't undo my awareness of what's going around in my environment and how people are walking, and somebody's got a bad back, from just their way they're walking. I was thinking that people who are bringing something of a challenge, like either a physical disability. I started when I had fibromyalgia, and other people have had rheumatoid arthritis and other kinds of limitations, blindness, that I didn't believe I could do Aikido. I was admiring people doing it while my daughter was training, and to discover that I could train where I was, in the same way that people sometimes have come in with a lot of anxiety, maybe from trauma, maybe not wanting to be touched, that there's adjustments that can be made so people train where they are. It's also been interesting to me that we've had, over these years, a number of people who have had gender identity journeys and transitioned during their time with Aikido, and I think coming to a place where we have community, where it's safe, where people accept each other. I
think when you think of like rules of a basic, like the martial art, O Sensei is, the founder of Aikido, and O, that honorific O in front of Sensei. But the founder of Aikido really just had these rules that were called Mosogi, which means purification in Japanese. And the Mosogi idea was, well, first thing is make sure you're good with yourself. Make sure that purifications happen. And then your immediate environment, make sure everything in your house is in order. And the last part, once you're there, you're an example. You're the perfect example to go out and make friends. And so by making friends and by being that example, everyone's accepted. Everyone's a part, can come to a dojo and train. And no matter what's going on in your life, no matter physical limitations. Anything can be modified, and anything can work. After all, we're letting energy move through us and redirecting it for a positive outcome. And so, of course, it's a perfect training ground for everybody.
You said one time when I talked to you about visiting other dojos to make sure that the people were laughing.
Yeah, that's
and
important.
To avoid a dojo where people have no humor. And that was one of the things that while I was sitting on a bench watching black belt class, watching the children's classes, that I saw was there was not a contest happening. There was not a competition. There was so much cooperation and kindness. And 23 years, and I'm still seeing that happen with new students as they come in, that they find a home here. So.
I think the thing about Aikido is we take away the idea of punishment, we take away the idea of competition, the idea that there's a winner and a loser. The idea of Aikido is that we're going to try to resolve something where everybody wins. It doesn't mean that there isn't further discussion. It doesn't mean, but everyone's going to come out of it as a winner. It's a choice. You could choose to do a competitive martial art, and I've done competitive martial arts, and there's an enjoyment in the activity. There is a physical enjoyment in competitive martial arts. There's a cardio enjoyment. There's exertion. There's all this, and testing yourself against something. But in Aikido, we don't do that. What we do is we train in a way that betters us. It's like we skip a step. When I think about what are martial arts for, really it's to get to a place of peace. And we're training towards that place of peace. Well, so why do I want to learn how to just hit people? If my goal is to go towards peace.
Right.
So what if I learn to skip that step and move to the next step? I was thinking of boxers, and some of my favorite boxers who just don't get hit. And like in the Olympics, when it's about playing tag and the white part of your glove tags somebody, and really if your goal is just you don't get hit, and it's like, there's the beginning of what Aikido is. I'm going to move out of the way. I'm not going to let somebody come in with this attack energy, and then I'm going to redirect that energy back. That choice is an important choice. It might not be the choice for everybody, but to choose, something that's moving towards peace is important.
Yeah. No, and just this, you said the cardio. I love the days where I'm sweating.
There's definitely a lot. We can have those days.
Yeah, having great physical interactions with people that are ready to play at that level.
Yeah.
And having the health to play at that level. But the idea that I can still stay safe and protect myself, actual self-defense, without causing harm, or and hopefully in some way that doesn't really even need to involve anything physical, because I'm so alert that I can nip things off before they turn into something that requires more energy. It's just amazing. I do love it, and I continue doing it. Continue teaching and watching people grow and watching people walk a path. That idea of Aikido rather than jujitsu, rather than the word jitsu itself. It's like, it's actually more. It's a path. It's a training that's leading you somewhere, And I think that's what makes it a little bit special. Me too.